there was a young gentleman, probably in his early 30s, uh, very famous influencer on Instagram. Joe Aesthetics was his Instagram handle. And he was openly talking about him taking human growth hormones and steroids. And at the same time, he took multiple COVID vaccines. We're talking about the Modernas, the Pfizers. And he was on a podcast and he openly spoke about this. And he talked about feeling a little off after taking certain vaccines. A couple months passes, he actually had an aneurysm
Oh, no.
and passed away.
Mm.
And
Recent study by Ota and colleagues from Japan of people who took the vaccine and they died of bursted aneurysms. They did an autopsy and they found the vaccine spike protein eating away at the blood vessels up in the brain, and that's where it burst.
It's still hard to believe that we have all this information, yet it hasn't been pulled from the shelves. I mean, I have, again, some families that are asking for boosters today for their 95-year-old parents. Like, why does your 95-year-old mom need a booster? I don't understand. Because there's one case in Orange County or somewhere in LA County. What's the big deal? It's just a flu.
Well, it's a good entree to my new book, Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. And John Leake, who's considered probably the world's greatest historian at this point in time, has really put his focus on the medical history of vaccines. We went back centuries. And for the longest time, there has been an archetypal fear of infectious diseases, an incredible fear. We talked about fear of invaders and war, what have you. There's a fear of infectious diseases, enormous fear. And the ideology says this, that through the brilliance of mankind and vaccinology, that doctors and scientists can improve upon God's creation. Man can make God's creation, the human body, better. This goes back centuries. This is an extraordinary hubris. So we have the ingredients: fear of infectious diseases, hubris. Hubris is very important. This arrogance, incredible arrogance of mankind, and it's been transmitted for centuries. And then on top of that, you have money and power. Going back hundreds of years, these vaccinologists quickly were at the right hand of the king and queen, whatever country they were in. They were celebrated individuals. They would make proclamations. I've given you this vaccine. You're protected forever. How did they know? They didn't even know what caused the disease. The microscopes weren't even invented yet. So vaccinology, from its very beginning, takes a vaccine and says, accept it as an article of faith, like a talisman. And so when the families are asking you, and you're the administrator, you're responsible for these lives, right? When they're asking you, give them another booster, it's like a talisman. It's like it's going to protect them. They've accepted it based on faith.
So it was like basically it was used as a prophylactic in a sense.
Yeah, as a protection. That this is a form of protection. Just to take it. I was just on national TV 72 hours ago, and right in the lead-in to my segment, they played Rachel Maddow. Do you ever watch Rachel Maddow?
Mm-hmm.
Try not to.
She's pretty hard to watch. But, this was early on in the pandemic. They actually had the month and the day up there. It was early 2021. And she goes, you take this vaccine, you take it in the arm, COVID comes to you, you're not going to get it. It stops the virus in its tracks. You will not transmit it to anyone else. And this pandemic is over with if you take the vaccine. That's Rachel Maddow. Now she's a nightly news anchor. How does she know all that? How did she know that enough to make that proclamation? That's like me getting on TV, not being an expert in an area, and I just start making proclamations about the treasury markets. How in the world can I possibly know? I'm not an expert in the treasury markets. How could she possibly say that? The point is, she fully accepted them as an article of faith. It was a face. And if you look on the cover of our book, there is a coin.
Mhm.
It's a papal coin. This is a 20-euro coin issued during the pandemic by the Pope. And it's a boy about to receive the Eucharist. He's about to receive the body and blood of Jesus Christ to be saved. But instead of receiving the Eucharist, he's receiving the COVID vaccine. The COVID vaccine, in a sense, think about this hubris,
To protect them.
replacing Jesus Christ. So in our book, we actually cite a church that we found in the South Island of New Zealand during the pandemic with a big banner over the front of the church, huge yellow and red banner. It said, "Not even the blood of Christ will save you. Get vaccinated."
And this is the church.
Yes.
See, how was, for example, the likes of Rachel Maddow and Chris Cuomo, all these guys, or the de Blasio, the mayor of New York, how are these guys even allowed to make such ridiculous statements as "you take the shot, you will not get the virus"? How are they allowed to make such statements? I mean, the FDA cannot make such statements. No physician in the world would make such a statement. Yet, some news anchor, media person can just go out there, or a local government official. You take the vaccine, not only are you going to get free burger and fries, you will not get the virus. How is that allowed or legal? That's what I don't understand.
Well, it's certainly making false claims. And it doesn't stop with Rachel Maddow or Chris Cuomo or Jimmy Kimmel. I was just in the U.S. Senate as the lead witness in yet another set of hearings on the vaccines. This is May 21st, 2025. Richard Blumenthal, the senator from Connecticut, during his opening statement, has some staffers go behind him and put up big poster boards that say, "Vaccines save lives," in huge letters. And then he said, well, the vaccines save lives. The hearing was about people sustaining heart damage. And yet this was put up there. And so I challenged him. We got about halfway through the hearing. I said, we just witnessed false drug advertising. You made a false claim. Do you know the FDA doesn't even say the vaccines save lives? When you go in for a COVID shot, it doesn't say this will save your life. It doesn't say that because no randomized, prospective, double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial ever showed a reduction in mortality. There's not a valid non-randomized study that shows a reduction in mortality. That's valid. I mean, controlling for the big determinants of mortality, which are natural immunity, using early treatment protocols, and then milder variants. Those are the big ones. And there are multiple studies showing instead of mortality going down with vaccination, it goes up. So the FDA would never claim that the vaccines save lives, but yet Blumenthal, in a setting hearing, puts a false claim behind them. People took these shots and they want to believe that their lives were saved. It's a religious belief.
Did you enjoy that clip? Click over here to watch the full episode and click over here to subscribe to the WiseNuts podcast YouTube channel.